1084, please stand by. 1084, please stand by.
All right, there's two expressions today that I want you guys to remember. The first is fish die by the mouth, and the second is there's no honor amongst thieves. With that said, today's model, the prisoner's dilemma, comes from game theory, a long-standing social experiment that really started in the 1950s, that's still even played out today with most sociology and psychology courses. It pretty much states that if given the choice or the chance or the opportunity, people will always take care of their own self-interest first versus cooperating, even when the odds or the situation would be in their favor to work together as a group or a cohesive unit. And in today's example, you're going to learn that very construct. Jesus, man, what's with the light? And what's with the freak show? I mean, seriously, man, do we need a safe word? This is crazy. It's almost like it's Halloween already. You don't even have enough to convict either one of us. What's your problem, man?
You're right. On the principal charge of grand larceny, we don't have enough. But we do have enough to throw you both back up to a year, given obstruction of justice, threatening, and conspiracy charges.
What the heck, dude? The stolen Rolex probably belonged to some stuck-up rich white dude. What do you care for?
I'll tell you what, Blake. I want one of you guys to go down for this. And maybe you can make my job a little easier. If you do, I'll make it worth your while.
So the deal I just heard that the other detective offered Blake is if he snitches on me, I get 3 years and he gets to go scot-free? That's a shady deal, man. Dude, so if I snitch on Angel and he doesn't snitch on me, that means that he gets 3 years in prison and I get to jet out of here? And if we both snitch on one another, whoa, that's you said 2 years. Whoa. Sounds like a rat race to me, man.
That is correct. Right now, both of you are looking up to a year in prison anyways. A pretty sweet deal, right? Just remember, if both of you snitches before the deal is signed tomorrow, then we revert back to the 2-year deal for each one of you guys.
Well,
that stoner Blake
Angel just needs to chill out, man. So
just give me the paperwork and I'll sign it.
All right, so the prisoner's dilemma is a standard example of a game analyzed in game theory that shows why two completely rational individuals might not cooperate, even if it appears that it's in their best interest to do so. It was originally framed by Merrill Flood and Melvin Drescher, working at Rand in 1950. Albert W. Tucker formalized the game with prison sentence rewards and named it the prisoner's dilemma. The interesting part of the result is that pursuing individual reward logically leads both of the prisoners to betray, when they could get a better reward if both of them just simply remain silent. In reality, humans display a systemic bias towards cooperative behavior in this and similar games, and also in reality, much more so than predicted by simple models of rational, self-interested action. All right, so even though I think the skit did a better job when it came to explaining this game or this model, let me just spell it out to you as it was originally intended. So, two members of a criminal gang are arrested and imprisoned. Each prisoner is in solitary confinement with no means of communicating with the other. The prosecutors lacked sufficient evidence to convict the pair on the principal charge. So the principal charge is the primary charge that has the most weight, right? The meatiest charge. Typically, it's the greatest offense, which is, by and large, a felony, which typically is greater than a year in prison. They hope to get both sentenced to a year in prison on a lesser charge. Simultaneously, the prosecutors offer each prisoner a bargain. Each prisoner is given the opportunity either to betray the other by testifying that the other committed the crime or to cooperate with the other by remaining silent. So the deal is, if A and B betray each other, each of them serves 2 years in prison. If A betrays B, but B remains silent, A will be set free and B will serve 3 years in prison, and of course vice versa. If A and B both remain silent, both of them will only serve 1 year in prison. on the lesser charge. And especially when I did the skit, right, I worded this in a slightly different language to make it easier. So I made it the detectives offering the deal versus the prosecutor. And also I made it so we didn't have to keep repeating the same thing over and over again with two detectives with the two suspects. So I try to, streamline it for better understanding. And I also want to highlight that, at least during my skit, I kept on offering up to a year in prison when it came to the lesser charges, right? And even then, that was kind of a shady offer just because chances are when it comes to the prosecutor, when it comes to the judge, when it comes to wanting a plea bargain and not have this go to trial, most of the time they will reduce the sentence and reduce the charges against the suspects. So I'm willing to bet if both individuals stayed silent, they'd spend no more than probably 3 to 6 months in jail. But with that said, right, in the end, just like the social experiment outcomes for most people, both of them, at least in their own minds, tricking themselves into believing that they'll be betrayed by the other person, went for the higher conviction, right, which was both serving 2 years in prison because, again, they both snitched on one another. So instead of getting, let's say, 3 to 6 months, they both got 2 years just because they couldn't keep their mouths shut, right? Fish die by the mouth, and again, honor amongst thieves. So with that said, hopefully you learned a little bit when it came to this experiment. Again, if this is really confusing, breaking it apart, I highly recommend that you go back to the original video, the little skit that I did, which hopefully streamlines that a little bit easier for you. All right, well, hopefully you enjoyed the little skit I put on for you guys. So again, when it comes to the two constructs, right, the first one being fish die by the mouth, when it comes to most criminal investigations, obviously when it comes to proof beyond a reasonable doubt, which is roughly 95% certainty, you're not going to get that slam dunk concrete evidence that you need for higher convictions without a little bit of help. And usually either through eyewitnesses, suspects gloating later on after the offenses occurred, or usually suspects betraying one another, do detectives or police officers finally get the evidence that they need to move towards a conviction. So with that said, when it comes to no honor amongst thieves, typically, not always, because of course with gang mentality, right, there is loyalty, there is a close cultural cohesive unit when it comes to those operations. But for the most part, smaller crimes, especially non-gang affiliated crimes, typically people take care of their own. At least that's how they were raised or bred or motivated towards understanding when it came to their childhood and their own psychological development. So with that said, hopefully you enjoyed today's video. If you have, please give it a like, and I will see you on the next one.